Chapter 15. Most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. Abraham Lincoln. At 5 o'clock in the morning, the stern of the Alcyon is cast in darkness, except for the dancing light coming from Antoine's flashlight. While I warm up the outboard engine on the Zodiac, Captain carefully loads our gear into the inflatable boat. It's not unusual for us divers to be up so early. However, it is not a working dive we are preparing for. Captain grins as he carefully lays the three surfboards down. This is going to be a lot of fun, he declares, rubbing his hands together in eager anticipation. Peering through a pair of binoculars, I can barely see the waves at the distant reef, but it looks like major surf. All I can see in the darkness are fast-moving lines of white water reflecting soft lunar light from a full moon riding low on the horizon. Looks big, maybe 8 to 10 foot faces. My enthusiasm is hard to contain. Anton chuckles as he jumps into the Zodiac, untying the bow and giving us a push off. He turns and says in an excited voice, "Light offshore winds. Those waves are going to be like glass walls." In sync with our growing excitement, I twist the outboard throttle to the max. The lightly loaded Zodiac leaps forward and rapidly accelerates to full plane. At 30 miles an hour, the outboard roars with the Zodiac skimming across the smooth water. Anton stands at the front of the racing boat, balancing himself with the bowline. Leaving the harbor, I hug the coastline of this beautiful Fijian island. In the darkness, we passed white sand and seashell-laced beaches that twinkle. It is bits of white shells reflecting the silver lunar light. Where the beach meets the jungle, there is a small seaside village. Through the rectangular windows of the huts, there are soft, flickering glows from open fires where breakfast will soon be prepared. At the harbor point, a dog runs down to the water's edge to bark at us as we go by. Before us, the distant horizon is just beginning to lighten, heralding the advance of the tropical sunrise. Angling out to sea, the Zodiac flies over the beginnings of an ocean swell, which is increasing in magnitude. Soon the sleek inflatable is momentarily airborne as it launches off a sizable cresting swell. Anton rides the bow, with his knees flexed, shouting for more speed. 15 minutes later, we arrive at the reef. The surf is bigger than expected, at least double overhead. Barely 25 feet from the breaking waves, we drop anchor in the protection of a deep water channel. Quickly pulling on our rubber vests, we grab our surfboards and leap into the warm water. As we paddle out, the rim of the rising sun crests the horizon. Warm yellow light washes across the glassy wave faces. Capkin, who has the advantage of youth and long arms on a 6 foot, 5-inch frame, is the first one out into the lineup. He quickly drops into a 12-foot face, screaming his lungs out. When the wave passes beside us, he momentarily disappears from sight as he races down its face. Then he arches back up, slicing the lip and throwing a wide fan of water over us. The water particles sparkle in the morning light, and for an instant there are twin miniature rainbows caught in the misty arch. Anton attempts the next wave. An inexperienced surfer, he is unsure of himself. as is too far forward on the board. The wave launches him face first into the water. Then he and his board disappear into the frothy surf. A couple seconds later, I'm paddling for my own wave, feeling the board begin to fall and accelerate with the wave. I leap to my feet. The surfboard surges forward, shifting weight to my rear foot. The board angles up at the bottom of the wave and races across the glassy face. Through the clean wall of water, I can see the fiery red and yellow orb of the sun as it burnishes the wave in the glorious colors of the sunrise. Reaching out, I trail my hand in the smooth wave face and stare in awe at light and water rippling off my fingertips like spinning liquid fire. Behind me, I hear the roaring sound of the wave pounding the shallow reef. Then the wave crest drops over my shoulder. In an instant, I am inside a glassy tube, a rolling vortex of water with shimmering liquid walls. I can see the mouth of the wave closing before me. Then abruptly the wave's lip, like a hydraulic sledgehammer, slams me from the board. Tumbling and spinning, I hurl underwater mere feet above the shallow reef, finally reaching the surface, gasping for air. I hear Captain laughing a few feet away. "You looked terrific," he shouts in glee, "right up till that wave swallowed you, then spit out your board like a chewed up toothpick." Laughing together, we turn to see Anton's next attempt. It's a nice wave, only Anton is too far back on the board. Waving his arms in frustration, he falls over backwards, his feet disappearing last into the froth. Several seconds later, the wave washes him and his board to where we are waiting. He comes up sputtering and spitting water. "You're trying to stand up too fast," offers Captain. "Let the board gather speed. It will be more stable. If you want any advice from a beginner, if I want any advice from a beginner, I'll ask for it." Anton responds angrily. Captain shrugs and leads the way as we paddle out for the next set. It is true that Captain has the least experience of the three of us, yet already I know he is a natural for the sport. Despite his awkward style, he rides well and aggressively. Over the next hour, Captain rips wave after wave. I catch less than half as many and often wind up in the underwater subway bouncing along the bottom. But Anton doesn't catch any at all. Soon he is furious, sometimes pounding the water in frustration. Neither Captain nor I spend much time around him. Half an hour later, we are back in the Zodiac, returning toward Alcyon. Captain and I are in non-express good moods because Anton is so angry with himself and life in general. Back at the Windship, he tosses his surfboard onto the deck and goes below. How foolish, I think to myself. Anton's poor performance was a direct reflection of his attitude. We went surfing to have fun, yet he wanted none of our cheerfulness because of his lousy attitude and inability to catch wave. I don't doubt that his anger interfered with the surfing. Had he relaxed and not worried about how he looked in front of his friends, all of us would have had a better time. The Bible states this very well. Get rid of all bitterness, rage and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Ephesians 4:31. Anger, even when it's self-directed, steals happiness, upsets friends, and ruins potentially happy times. There is absolutely no benefit in being mad except for the negative lessons it teaches us about ourselves. Captain and I are rinsing off our surfboards when Jean-Michel Cousteau steps out on deck. "We won't be getting underway this morning after all," he announces sadly. "Customs hasn't cleared our permit yet." Captain and I look at each other as wide grins slop across our faces. "What are you two so happy about?" inquires Jean Michel. "Who wants to go diving in the worst way? We are in Fiji to investigate a deep underwater cave." "Well, boss," I say as Captain and I stand hopefully holding our surfboards, "the waves are really good right now." Jean Michel eyes us sternly. "Have you two noticed that the bridge needs a good scrubbing?" "I could do it during lunchtime," volunteers Capkin. This is a major concession from him because Capkin is always hungry. Often he raids the refrigerator late at night, much to the frustration of our French chef. Lately, the chef has taken to hiding certain things like cooking chocolate from Capkin. The chef's efforts are mostly wasted as Capkin considers the hunt for his hidden treasures to be almost as much fun as eating them. "Nah," grins Jean Michel. "You two go have fun. Anton is in a bit of a mood in the galley right now. Maybe a little work will improve his attitude." Learn the sweet magic of a cheerful face. Oliver Wendell Holmes.